Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, I want to take you through step by step one of the strategies that I use that has helped me genuinely win games before a dice has even been rolled. That's right, we are finally going to be doing a video on combat width, why it is one of the Guard's strongest strategies and how you can leverage it on the tabletop. So without further ado, let's not mess around any further. Let's fix bayonets and charge right into today's episode. Now, if you've watched any of my live streams or you've tuned in to the after action reports, you may have heard me say in those videos that when I was deploying my army at a tournament, that I went for a nice wide deployment, that I tried to spread out as much as possible so I could attack upon all fronts. This is what I call going wide, or having good combat width. If you're an army that has an abundance of units, if you are not necessarily a horde army, but you just have more units than your opponent, then often going wide, deploying in a combat width style, can mean that you get a big advantage from the start of the game.
Attention guardsmen, the commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Some armies, like the Guard, naturally have a good combat width, and that is because you're pretty much always going to outnumber your opponents, and often you'll find that you fill up your deployment zone. However, it is important to note that you don't need to be a horde army to be able to leverage this strategy. The most important thing is if you go into a game and you can assess that you significantly outnumber your opponent, or you have more units and you can deploy in a wide way, that is something you can leverage no matter what faction you are. There are some armies that genuinely cannot do good combat width though. For example, you've got the hyper elite forces such as Custodes, who generally struggle to deploy on a wide frontage. But if you're someone that, let's say, is using Marines and you've got quite a weighty Marine army and you've got lots of different things in there, for example, if you're using something like Space Wolf, Wolf Jail, then that's an army which does have the potential to out combat width their opponents and use that to their advantage. But what is the advantage of having good combat width? What's the advantage of going wide? Why do some armies and some lists want to do this? Well, let's look at the example scenario that's in front of us right now. Here we have a 2,000 point Imperial Guard army. This is actually one of the army lists that I took to a tournament, and as you can see, we have pretty much filled up our available deployment zone, and we've taken advantage of all of the line of sight blocking terrain. And even with that, we're still overspilling a little bit and having to have some units out in the open, or just a little bit of cover between them and the enemy. Now, I've deployed here in a very, very wide formation. As you can see, I've got units stacked up on the left, on the right, in the middle. All of the flanks, all of the areas of the battle grid are going to be affected by my army. And I've tried to deploy my army in such a way where we've got these overlapping, these integrated fields of fire, as well as having forces that are kind of self-contained. I've talked about this in a previous video about having armies within armies, about having these little, micro armies, the core system as it were. So you can see over on this right flank, for example, we've got 40 infantry and we've got a battle tank and we've also got a hellhound. Now that is a formidable force, and in its own right that is enough to storm forward and start taking the fight to the enemy. But we've not just got that once, we've got it once, twice, 3 times. And what this wide deployment has allowed me to do is essentially threaten and go for each objective on the map. So we're looking at a Dawn of War deployment here. So our home objective is locked down. We have got our Supreme Command Blob on there, but we've also got a unit of Ogrins, and we've got a tank and a Hellhound that can start pushing forward onto the middle objective. At the same time, we've got 40 infantry over here and a couple more tanks that can move forward onto this other middle objective, but also overlapping fields of fire, like I said before, we can start putting fire support into the center as well if we need it. And likewise, these vehicles in the center could support us on the left or on the right. And speaking of the right, look, we've got it again, a big force here that can move forward and start going after that objective. Being able to have so many assets in a list and being able to not only go after each objective, but go after it effectively with a significant force is a luxury that not every army can take advantage of. And that is one of the best bits about having an army with good combat width. I mean, any Marine players watch this right now. How many times have you been deploying your army down and you've been putting units behind the ruins in your deployment zone, and you've effectively sort of stacked up, okay, I'm going to go after the left objective, I'm going to go after the middle objective. You're looking good. You've got some good concentration going on there. And it gets that right-hand objective and you're thinking to yourself, oh, damn, I've really only got like a little intercessor squad left over. Maybe I've got like a single redemptor dreadnought. I really don't want to put this out there on its own, but I also don't want to leave that objective completely uncontested. Oh, screw it, I'll throw it over there, because then at least I've got something on that flank, right? But you haven't been able to cover all three objectives successfully, and you've more had to try and concentrate on two, and you sort of put the remnants of your list going after that third and final mid-board objective. But here's the thing. Just because you've deployed wide, it does not guarantee that you are going to win the game. This is not an auto-win strategy. What helps you win the game in deployment? What can effectively seal the fate of your opponent before they've even rolled a dice? Well, it's exactly what we were just talking about. That reaction from the elite army. There are some armies which have got good combat width, like Guard. There's some lists that have got it as well. But there are some armies, like we said, which don't. And instead what they have is force concentration. The ability to have units that pound for pound, mano a mano, will always be able to outfight what is on the other side of the table. And the worst thing you can do if you are one of these elite armies, the worst thing you can do if you find yourself being out combat width, that is to try and go wide yourself. Because all that you do when you do go wide, if you try and match the width of an opponent and you can't, all you do is dilute your own force, dilute your own ability, and instead of getting into one-on-one fights, instead of having the greater mass of forces in one area of the board, and maybe force concentrating on a couple of areas, instead you don't have enough force anywhere. And this is something that I think a lot of elite players, a lot of mistakes that people make when they're facing off against the Guard. Look at what we've got on the other side of the table from us here. Again, it's just one of my Death Guard armies that I've used at a tournament recently. We've got a Land Raider with a squad of Plague Marines in it, a couple of units of Rhinos with Plague Marines in, and we've got another Land Raider. This Marine force has deployed completely wide, but at no point are these guys going to now be able to win their respective flanks. There's no way that a single Land Raider with just 10 Plague Marines inside it is going to be able to take on 2 tanks and 40 infantry. I'm not saying they won't do any damage. I'm not saying that they won't be able to tear a chunk out of the Guard. But between the initial starting numbers and the fact that the Guard will probably have some kind of reinforcements in, and the Guard can do overlapping fields of fire, that we can have these tanks come over and start concentrating on this side, it's a foregone conclusion. Likewise over here, a single Land Raider, a single squad of Plague Marines pushing onto objective, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. If what you should do, and what I did when I was running my Plague Marines, if I saw someone going wide, when I played Guard twice at a tournament, when I ran this list, what I did is I took that Land Raider over there, and I stacked it up behind here. And I basically completely left one objective open, completely refused the flank, but instead, well, let me tell you, 2 Land Raiders, 2 squads of Plague Marines taking on this, that goes to the Plague Marines 9 times out of 10. That goes to Death Guard pretty much every single time. Because I can then come over here with my entire 2,000 points and smash what's over here, which is about 1,250 points, roughly off the top of my head. And 750 points of your list is now not even really involved in the fight. So this is big thing about force concentration versus combat width. If you're an army that can go wide, you want to try and go wide as best as you can, because if you do, you will find so many players just fall into the trap, just on autopilot without even thinking. Try and match your units. They go, okay, you've got units on that objective, so I need something on that objective. And the biggest mistake you can make if you are an army with good force concentration is to try and match the width. And if you do that, then there's a very, very good chance that you have lost the game. If you're opposing this kind of guard army, you will have lost the game before you've even rolled the dice. Well, at least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Are you a fan of combat width, or do you prefer force concentration? And overall, which one do you think is more powerful, and which factions can take advantage of each particular strategy? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.